My name is Don Lee Daniels. Some of you may remember me as Swami Jnanananda Saraswati. Whether you're watching this on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, I'm glad you're here, truly. For over 40 years, I've been exploring consciousness beyond the body through advanced meditation, conscious out-of-body experiences, and the awakening of Kundalini Śakti, the underlying force that the mystics of every tradition have always known. What you're about to hear is an issue of my newsletter, Listening at the Edge of Consciousness. If you're not yet a subscriber, I invite you to join us. It's free. The link is in the description below and in the show notes. Hey, welcome everybody. Here's a quick note before we dive in. Starting with this issue, these newsletters are going to get shorter and I think a little sharper. Less lecture, more lightning. At least, I hope so. You'll also start seeing short videos, single teachings, single stories, single practices that you can use immediately. The depth isn't going anywhere. It's just going to be arriving in a tighter package. Now, the core. People always ask me what I teach, and I give them two sentences. If you've read anything or heard anything I've said before, you'll know these two sentences. Direct experience reshapes your reality, and you can learn how to access these states of consciousness deliberately and at will. Everything I've done for the last 50 years lives inside these two lines. But let me break it open for what's actually underneath all this. Because this isn't philosophy. This is a map of what's available to you right now. What I teach, advanced meditation, the ground that holds everything. I don't teach relaxation, although that happens. I don't teach stress management, although that happens too. I don't teach a version of meditation that's been stripped of its radical depth and repackaged for mass consumption, like a lot of stuff that's out there. What I teach are the deep states, Turiya, Samadhi, the states known across other traditions as Satori and Nirvana. These are not metaphors. They are real, specific, experiential thresholds where consciousness recognizes itself. Your awareness shines through and you recognize that you are that awareness, not just thoughts about consciousness, consciousness itself, turning around and looking directly at its own nature. This is the ground of self-realization. Everything else I teach rests on it. When you sit and go deep enough, past the mental chatter, past the body, past the dream layer, past all that mental stuff, the old monkey mind that's always rattling around, what remains behind all of that is what you actually are. Pure awareness, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. And if you haven't felt that, you're going to be in for a real treat. It's beyond anything you can imagine. And you've gotten glimpses, I'm sure. And this awareness, though, it has been there the entire time. The ground beneath every thought, every experience, every breath you've ever taken. The second thing I really teach, and this is radical and a lot of people don't understand this, I teach conscious out-of-body experience, OBEs, and it's a doorway that you walk through every night. It's known in the yogic tradition as the Tantra state. Every single night, and every day if you take naps or if you just go into a daydream, you pass through a threshold between waking and sleep. Your body relaxes, your mind starts to drift. And for a few seconds, and sometimes maybe for a few minutes, you're in a state the ancient yogic texts called the Tantra state. Now, most people just fall straight through it into unconscious sleep. I did for a long time, and then when I was a teenager, I began to have dreams after dreams after dreams. And I found myself becoming awake in these dreams. Sometimes people call it lucid dreaming. And then it went beyond that. When I was 19 years old, sitting in meditation during winter break from my college, a golden white energy gathered at the base of my spine, and it rose through the center of my body and exploded out through the crown of my head. My awareness separated from my physical body, and I found myself hovering above my childhood home, fully conscious, fully aware, and made of light. And that was my first conscious out-of-body experience. I had had glimpses before, but this was fully conscious, fully aware. And I knew when I looked down and I saw my body beneath me, I knew that I was not that body. I have had thousands since. And here's what matters. This state is trainable. You can learn it. That threshold you pass through every night is the same threshold the mystics, the near-death experiencers, and the ancient yogic practitioners all describe. It is the single most accessible doorway to a direct experience that will permanently change how you understand reality. Because once you've floated above your own body, fully aware, and you see your still body asleep below you, and you're in a body of light, fully aware and alive, you don't believe you're not your body. You know it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And this changes your reality. And when you change your reality, other things begin to happen. Which is why I also teach about the third thing, Kundalini Śakti awakening, the force that drives everything and is at the base of every religion and every philosophy. Kundalini is not a third practice alongside the first two. It is the underlying force of everything, the living intelligence that powers both the deepening of meditation and the separation of awareness in an out-of-body experience and beyond. Every genuine mystical tradition in history has recognized this force under different names. In the Nondual Shaiva Tantra tradition, the one I belong to, it's called Śakti, the dynamic power of consciousness itself. In Christianity, the Holy Spirit. In Taoism, Qi. In Japanese practice, Ki. In Vajrayana Buddhism, the clear light of awareness. Different rivers, the same ocean. Now, when Kundalini awakens, and it can awaken gradually or explosively, in meditation or in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, the body responds. Kriyas, movements of energy arise, spontaneous movements, shaking, deep involuntary breathing, automatic yoga postures you've never even learned. Energy begins to flow through channels you didn't even know you had. Inner sounds, inner lights, waves of bliss, and sometimes waves of purification that don't feel exactly blissful at all at the time. The entire system, the body, the mind, and something deeper than both, begins to reorganize itself around a new center of gravity, power, and certainty. Certainty that you're not just a human being, but that you're a being of light and love and energy. This is not something I initiate in others. It arises naturally through sincere, sustained practice. It's already within you, waiting to expand. Consciousness is waiting to expand within you. What I teach are the conditions that invite it, the understanding that makes sense of it, and the integration framework that keeps it from destabilizing your life. Because powerful spiritual experiences without grounding, without staying grounded in your life, can genuinely unravel a person. I've seen it. 3 years working in a psychiatric ward taught me that. And all the years that I've watched people grow spiritually, if you don't take care, if you don't practice grounding, this energy can take you off into areas you don't want to go. it's important that you stay grounded and not also fly off into some la-la land and spiritually bypass all the important stuff that you need to work on in your human life. Both are important. All of my years of practice has confirmed this. So here's the architecture. Everything I've just described lives inside a larger framework I call the 4 pillars. Direct experience, the practice themselves, the psychology of self-realization, the grounding and integration that keeps expanded states sustainable, technology for human consciousness evolution, the convergence of ancient practice and modern science. I believe the two can work together to evolve human consciousness. And the journey, my journey, the living testimony of a life spent between worlds, offered not as an autobiography, but as proof that this is real. It is possible, and it is available now. More on each of these in the weeks to come. For now, this is the core, and this is what I really want you to understand and what I'm going to focus on in tighter ways. And I hope you enjoy it. Everything that follows from here builds on it. Direct experience reshapes your reality, and you can learn how to access these states of consciousness deliberately and at will. That's the end of this issue of Listening at the Edge of Consciousness. The most important thing you can do right now is subscribe to the free weekly newsletter, Direct Experience, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Technology, and Practical Guidance for exploring consciousness beyond the body and deep within. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, please follow the show. And if this teaching moved you, a review helps more people find their way here. We're just beginning. Dive inward and fly free.